Tonight, conservative political activist Charlie Kirk is dead after he was shot this afternoon. How local lawmakers are reacting to this. And a deadly amount of fentanyl now off the streets tonight after county and federal authorities go into a home on the far west side.
Live from KSAT 12, the Nightbeat starts right now.
And we begin here at the top. A road that turns into a river. That's what people say happens every time it rains in a southeast side neighborhood. Now, we're going to show you this area. It's Channing Avenue right there near the McCrellis Shopping Center. And despite the flood risk there, that area is not among the 14 flood sites in San Antonio that the state is keeping an eye on. Still, people in that area are telling the night team's Avery Everett that they're hoping something gets done.
26 and a half years.
Close to same.
Judy Regalado and Dora Arroyos have lived on this street for a long time. But old Southeast Side issues are still bringing them new problems.
And it's not fair that we live like this.
Anytime it rains, Judy and Dora say Channing Avenue between South Gevers and South Mittman Street floods. And they say it's been this way since they moved in.
They have the power to resolve this problem.
Years ago, the city added this one drain at the end of their block. But after that didn't stop water from rushing down their street, Judy says the city dug this big hole across her front lawn to help with drainage. But she says that still didn't work.
But the flooding on Channing never stopped.
That's why she went to the mayor's town hall last week.
I want them to put another drainage and pick up our sidewalks. Nobody comes to cut the grass. Look at over there. Corn stalks, they're growing corn over there.
Flooding is a concern across our city right now. The mayor says there have been 14 projects identified here in San Antonio on the state's flood mitigation plan. And one of those locations is here next to the Salado Creek near Holbrook and Woodburn. Now take a look at this map. This shows the other spots across our city. In an emailed statement, the mayor says she's been visiting these locations to see how flood mitigation projects could be financed.
I mean, it's everywhere.
Judy and Dora Street isn't on the state's list of 14, but she's still hoping someone at the city will take her seriously.
We've been here a long time and we've been very patient. It's horrible, and it's not fair.
Avery Everett, KSAT 12 News.
And Mayor Gina Ortiz-Jones's Steve surveyed Channing Avenue earlier this week. And if you want to know more about those 14 flood areas in San Antonio that the state has identified, we have those addresses for you on our website, ksat.com. Tonight, Governor Greg Abbott announcing that all government buildings will lower the Texas and U.S. flags at half-staff in honor of the conservative political analyst Charlie Kirk. He was shot and killed this afternoon at an event at Utah Valley University. And as authorities continue to look for the person who killed him, leaders are now reacting to his death. Governor Abbott releasing a statement saying in part, quote, Charlie's voice was a beacon for millions of young Americans searching for truth, courage, and conviction. This senseless act of violence has no place in America, end quote. Other state leaders are also speaking about Kirk's death, calling for an end to political violence, like State Representative James Tallarico, who said this at a campaign event here in San Antonio tonight. Listen.
I disagreed with Charlie Kirk on almost every political issue, but Charlie Kirk was a child of God. He was our sibling, our brother. He was a human being.
State Representative Tallarico is a Democrat, and his event tonight where he was speaking, it was actually supposed to be about his recent campaign launch for U.S. Senator. But instead, he spoke about political violence in America. Charlie Kirk, by the way, was 31 years old, and he leaves behind a wife and 2 young kids. One man is in custody after a fentanyl bust. It happened in far west Bexar County. The FBI, DEA, and Bexar County Sheriff's SWAT team surrounded a home looking for 30-year-old Delarnus McGee. And not only did they catch McGee, they also say they found 32 grams of fentanyl, which is 16 times a lethal dose, which is, by the way, 2 milligrams. This is just the latest fentanyl bust in Bexar County. And Sheriff Javier Salazar says that it's hard to tell if there's been an increase in fentanyl in our area.
Fentanyl is one of those insidious things like a cancer that even if you go months and months without seeing it, doesn't mean it's not there. It doesn't mean it's not a threat, and doesn't mean it can't kill you.
The sheriff's office says that McGee will face at least several unspecified federal drug charges and then face his state charges after his federal arraignment. It's going to be harder for minors in Texas to get their hands on THC products because that's the goal behind Governor Greg Abbott's new executive order. It bans retailers from selling THC products to minors. So now anybody buying a THC product, doesn't matter how old you are, you have to show your ID. And retailers that are caught selling THC products to minors, they're going to lose their permits. The governor says that this is all about children's safety. This is coming after the state legislature failed to pass a ban on the sale of hemp products to customers under the age of 21. It's unclear, however, when this age limit restriction is going to begin. Turning now to the weather. It is quiet out there now, but we do want to let you know that tomorrow morning isn't going to be as pleasant or as mild as what we saw this morning, right, Adam?
Yeah, and even yesterday morning at 65, the hill country got down into the 50s yesterday morning. Things are changing a little bit. We'll warm up a little bit more. Still not a bad morning. I mean, 60s in the hill country, but right around 70 within San Antonio, and I think low 70s going forward in the morning. So not quite as pleasant, not as cool in the mornings, mostly in the lower 70s for the foreseeable future here. The afternoons in the mid 90s. For the rest of this week, into the weekend, and on into next week. Really, the foreseeable future, we're not going to have much variation in temperatures, let's put it that way. And we are going to remain dry because the rain stays out of the forecast. The upper level heat high is overhead. And I'll show you that map in a bit. I want to point out today is the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season. Coming up in a few minutes, we'll take a look at one little area that's being monitored and the odds of it turning into the next tropical cyclone and why it's such a slow season so far. Just a bit.
Adam, thank you. Now here, a man is in the Bexar County Jail for allegedly stalking San Antonio Police Chief William McManus and his wife. He's 29-year-old Roger Vitito. And according to an arrest affidavit that was obtained by KSAT, Vitito called and texted the couple at least 24 times between September 3rd and September 5th. And court documents state that he expressed anger and dissatisfaction regarding the outcome of one of his unrelated criminal cases. And one of those text messages read, quote, "Well, I gave you your 15-day notice," and quote, "A few more days left. Hope you make the right decision." Vitito was arrested earlier this week in the Rio Grande Valley. We reached out to Chief McManus for comment, but haven't yet received a response for this story. $10,000 a month for a media consultant. That is the latest in a staffing shakeup by Mayor Gina Ortiz-Jones. KSAT Investigates obtained reports that show the city and Frontwood Strategies, which is a Washington, D.C. communications firm, signed a contract late last month to provide Mayor Jones outside media help through the end of October for up to $30,000. An Austin-based specialist from San Antonio is now working in the mayor's office, and that person is going to help manage future stories, arrange interviews, and also share updates on Project Marvel and the mayor's role regarding the city's budget. Mayor Jones says that the support is going to bridge the gap until she finds a permanent communications team. Now, this afternoon, that contract, it came up while council members met to discuss the city's budget. Councilman Mark White actually brought it up, and then things got pretty tense between he and the mayor. Listen.
You asked me, I answered your question. If you'd like historical information about what others have been paid, you can be provided that.
The mayor said that the pay matches what previous mayors have spent on communication staff. According to the records, the contract between the city and the media consultant is going to end in November. Tomorrow, another city leader is going to be in the hot seat. District 8 Councilwoman Ibalis Mesa Gonzalez faces a censure vote after her DWI arrest back in July. We learned this afternoon that the district attorney's office has refiled the case as a DWI offense with a blood alcohol content level of more than at least 0.15. For context, the legal limit is 0.08. Mayor Gina Ortiz-Jones called for tomorrow's meeting, citing new information, but we don't know whether that new information that she cited is about Mesa Gonzalez's blood alcohol level. The censure vote is supposed to take place tomorrow afternoon. But that's not all of city business, because before that, city leaders are also scheduled to vote on fines for abandoning animals in San Antonio. The city council was originally supposed to vote last Thursday on whether to fine people between $500 and $2,000 for abandoning any animal within the city. But then Mayor Gina Ortiz-Jones withdrew that proposal, saying that the idea was part of a proposal that was submitted before she and the new council members took office. However, the councilwoman who wrote that original proposal, Councilwoman Marina Alderete Gabito, along with Councilwoman Terry Castillo and Councilman Mark White, filed a 3-signature memo to force a vote on tomorrow's agenda. Still ahead tonight, new COVID vaccine restrictions are coming out. We're going to let you know if you qualify and also what to do if you want the shot, but you don't qualify. Plus, the Guadalupe River Authority now looking for ways to make flood-prone areas safer. Coming up, you're going to hear more about their safety planning meeting that took place tonight. Since the deadly July 4th floods, members of the Guadalupe River Authority have been meeting to discuss safer ways to develop around flood-prone areas. And some people in Comfort today, they spoke at a meeting tonight about the history of floods in their city and also how those floods that we've had recently have impacted their lives forever.
No, for us, this is personal. We don't want Comfort to be devastated by the impacts of a flood this neighborhood would cause.
So the Guadalupe Flood Planning Group is providing updates on the recovery and also gives the community a chance to voice their concerns. That's obviously what happened tonight. And they're going to meet again on November 12th at 2 p.m. in Seguin. You know, COVID isn't just on the rise. Doctors say that we're right in the middle of what they call the summer surge of the Nimbus strain. And the thing is that it may be harder for some people to get the new COVID vaccine. Previously, anybody at least 6 months old qualified for the COVID vaccine. But now the FDA released new restrictions on the vaccine. They're specifically reserved for people 65 or older or with conditions that might make them high risk. So how do you know? If you don't fall, what do you do if you don't fall under those categories? Well, this is some advice.
I think anybody that wants the COVID vaccine should talk to their doctor to see about getting it. And doctors can prescribe things off-label as well. And so if your physician can be your advocate, sort out for you.
Here's the bottom line. If you are interested in getting the COVID vaccine, talk to your doctor. Tomorrow marks 24 years since the attacks of 9/11, and a local event to honor first responders who we lost on that day is taking place at a new location here in San Antonio. As you know, the city does something called the stair climb. It used to take place over there at the Tower of the Americas, but because of renovations that are happening, tomorrow the event is happening at the Alamo Dome. People participating in that challenge may not reach the same height as they would in the tower, but the climb, though, that stays the same. We're talking about 110 flights of stairs, the same as in the World Trade Center, done up and down the sections in the Alamo Dome. So the stair climb is going to take place tomorrow morning, and if you're already registered, check-in is from 6 to 7 a.m. You could also register on site. And obviously that event is taking place indoors, Adam, so that's something.
Yeah, that's different this year, having it inside in the air conditioning in the Alamo Dome. Plus, it's not going to be as crowded then as in the Tower of Americas. Yeah. And, today, been another pleasant morning. We talked earlier how these, it's kind of that false fall, right?
Yeah, faux fall.
Faux fall, excuse me.
Yes.
Faux fall, right?
Hopefully you enjoyed it because...
When I say faux fall, I feel like I need to put my pinky up with my coffee.
Yeah.
In the morning, right?
Yes, it just, yeah.
Faux fall. It just works better that way. But yes, faux fall, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's back to a little more of reality and what's typical for this time of year. But I want to talk about the hurricane season. Mm-hmm. We are at the peak of hurricane season every September 10th. And usually we see activity ramp up by now. We've only had 6 named storms, and most of them actually on the weekend. End, as in they're weaker, not on the weekends, you know what I mean? Anyway, there's this one little wave that we're watching that's about to come off the western coast of Africa. 20% chance it develops into our next tropical cyclone, and that would be basically over the next 5 to 7 days or so. So a very low end chance. It is very quiet in the Atlantic basin and has been for a while for several reasons. Drier air, which is more stable, higher winds aloft, the wind shear, the wind increases with height. Hurricanes don't like that. They like it nice and calm up above them to help them develop into stronger storms. Also, Saharan dust that inhibits tropical cyclone formation, and we just haven't had as many ripples in the tropical flow, little tropical waves coming off of Africa. So speaking of dust, there is some out there. Now, we haven't had a whole lot of it over Texas so far this year, or over the summer when we typically see it. It's way out in the Atlantic, and that's where the thick dust the dust plumes are going to stay. But keep in mind that also helps to inhibit some of that tropical cyclone formation. And actually, what's interesting, the research on that is actually fairly new. Just within the past 10 years, NASA did some big studies, especially with drones, to research the impact on that Saharan dust and its impact on tropical cyclones, and concluded it kind of inhibits that formation and development, or at least inhibits strengthening. As for the Pacific, 90% chance of development. This cluster of storms just south of Mexico, headed west, likely to turn into a tropical cyclone. It's probably not going to have any impact to us. Now, sometimes, just as last weekend when we had our rain, we get leftover upper moisture, rain-making energy, and it can cause some beneficial rain. That was last weekend. This is a different situation. We have the upper level high, big blue H, that's blocking any of that moisture, rain-making energy. And even the active weather we have out there, Pacific Northwest, Great Lakes, all being deflected away from us because of the big blue H, the upper level high. That'll drift eastward, and it's going to modify a little bit, but still, the primary influence, we'll have a split high system by this time next week, so it's still, generally speaking, blocking out any active weather. Basically, the door is closed for any disturbances to move in, at least for the next 7 to 10 days. 92 is our high today. That's 1 degree above average for this time of year, and pretty much everywhere across the state. We were in the low to mid 90s, Laredo up to 98. And I do want to point out, the hottest time of the year, climatologically speaking, our average afternoon high, the warmest, is in August, and that's at 97. We're starting to take that turn downward, and by this time next month, the average high is down in the lower 80s. So this is that time of year we start to see that bit of a transition. 71 in the morning tomorrow, 86 at noon, and 95 by the afternoon. That's 92 Comfort, 97 Stinson on the south side, Divine 95, and Seguin at 96. Really no variation in temperatures going forward, just copy and paste kind of weather stuff.
All right, thank you so much for that, Adam. Larry, I'm really glad to see you here right now. Today's been a tough news day, and sometimes, you can be really dismissive when you see so much negativity out there. Yeah. But then you see some of your favorite athletes doing something really sweet for humanity, and it just makes you happy.
It so does, and the Spurs going to Ingram Moore High School today, it was great just to see the kids' faces light up with smiles. I mean, heck, the Spurs were smiling just as much. The Spurs with a big assist today, and Mary Rominger was there. She has the story. And in the NFL, why did Shoddy invite Clowney to Cowboys practice? We got it coming up.
I feel like, it's family. I feel like as far as the Spurs organization stretches, it's family, and this is our family.
Keldon Johnson and the Spurs gave back to their Hill Country family, and they loved it in Big Board Sports. What an afternoon for the kids and staff at Ingram Tom Moore High School. The Spurs practiced there today to bring some joy to the area after the devastating Hill Country floods in early July. Head coach Mitch Johnson was there last month when more than 100 Spurs volunteers prepared meals at City West Church in Ingram. Coach was so moved by his time there, he wanted to return and give back even more, and man, he sure did. The kids had no idea the Spurs were showing up today, and they went bananas when Wimby and company walked inside the gym. The Spurs held practice in front of kids from Hunt Middle School and Ingram Tom Moore High School before interacting with them. Mary Rominger was there for all the excitement, and she has more.
Larry, talk about an unforgettable experience. When the Hunt Middle School and Ingram Tom Moore High School students filed into the gym, they had no idea they were about to be in the presence of the San Antonio Spurs. Now, the crowd was warmed up with the Hype Squad and Coyote, and when Victor Wembanyama came peeking out of the locker room, the crowd went crazy and the noise was deafening.
I can't even explain my emotions when I saw him come out of the locker room. We didn't have any idea that this was gonna happen. I was hyped up. Yes, I was hyped up.
I came out pretty loud, like I was screaming and things, but they were really loud. They kind of like, but it was kind of like, we feed off each other. I feel like they made this literally an unforgettable moment. Like I would never forget being here.
This is a part of our community. I mean, it's 45 minutes up the road if you're in, North San Antonio, Hill Country. So, it's not any different for the Spurs than anybody else, hopefully, that's a part of this community and neighborhood. And when you see people that, that are a part of your city or your area in need, you want to be able to support them in any way you can.
Well, after the Spurs put on a show and made everyone in that gym smile, they took selfies with the students, gave away their shoes signed, even their jerseys, making for memories to last a lifetime for this community. Mary Rominger, KSAT 12 Sports.
Thank you, Mary. Looking for pass rush help, the Dallas Cowboys hosted defensive end Jadeveon Clowney today. The Houston Texans selected Clowney #1 overall in the 2014 NFL Draft. After spending 4 seasons with Houston, Clowney has since played for Seattle, Tennessee, Cleveland, Baltimore, and finally the Carolina Panthers last season. Carolina released him back in May, so now he's looking for a new team. He's 32 years old and a 3-time Pro Bowler, and he can definitely get after a QB with 58 career sacks.
I think anytime you can add to your roster in any position, it's a good thing because this is a very physical game. We all know that, and your roster can look very different from one week, from one practice, from 3 games to the next, and so you got to be mindful of that. And but the biggest thing for me is always going to be the fit. Well, I could go back to Seattle days. I was with him there. Guy's, really good football player. He's missed playing the game a little bit, and the film obviously looks good. And, we're always in the business of, seeing what's out there and keeping an eye on all good football players. But I would say the personal relationship I have with him, the problems I know he can create both in the run and the pass is the main reason he's here.
And with Micah Parsons gone in Green Bay, the Cowboys are in the market for pass rushers. Penalties hurt the Houston Texans after the break.